everybody. I am here in Perth, Australia, and today is a windy, miserable day. Usually Perth is beautiful and sunny, but yeah, it's really windy and miserable today. So I hope wherever you are that the weather is a little bit better. I have to go and watch my daughter play netball later, and I'm really hoping that the weather improves. Anyway, today I want to just chat to you about reasons why people get so tired. And I'm going to give you the top 5 most common reasons people struggle with fatigue. There are so many reasons for fatigue. And I'm sure a lot of you have gone from one therapist to the next, or you have cut out this and you've cut out that and you've tried everything and you just don't really know what else to do. I always say to clients, especially even before they come to me, otherwise I do this with them, the first thing you need to do if you are struggling with fatigue, if you feel you're on the verge of burnout, if you're exhausted all the time, you need to go to your GP. You need to go to your doctor and rule out a few really common causes of fatigue. I'll chat about 5 today, and next Friday I will chat about a few more. The most common causes of fatigue are, firstly, anemia. Simple blood test, you can find out if you've got anemia. Anemia is really common in teenagers. I see quite a few teenagers struggling with fatigue, and we always look at their iron levels first. So we do iron studies. That's the name of the blood test you can ask your GP for. Anemia is common in growing children, in teenagers, and in menstruating women who have very heavy periods, as well as in vegetarians. So if you fall into any of these categories, and coupled with your fatigue, maybe you have get a lot of infections, you don't recover easily from illnesses, you've always got a cough or a cold, coupled with your fatigue, you have headaches and maybe dizziness, then look at anemia. Ask your GP. So that's the first thing you need to rule out is, are you anemic? The second thing, again, very common, is an underactive thyroid or hyperthyroidism. I like to always check people's thyroid. Again, it's a simple blood test. If you go to your GP and you ask them to check your thyroid, please ask them to check for the antibodies, not just the T3, T4 count. A lot of GPs just do T3, T4, and TSH, but ask them to check your antibodies as well. I do have below, you'll be able to find a downloadable checklist with these common causes of fatigue and what to ask your doctor, so that you can actually just tick off that you've ruled this out. So with your thyroid, an underactive thyroid, thyroid problems commonly occur when people go through changes of life. So teenagers who have just come into puberty, that's the time. So puberty is a time to check somebody's thyroid. Pregnancy, when women have had babies, so during pregnancy and after childbirth, very common to have thyroid problems. And menopause is another time where thyroid problems tend to suddenly arise out of the blue. Other causes of thyroid problems, or other times you should think that maybe your thyroid is playing up, is if you have got a lot of stress. So thyroid problems are very common in men as well, especially men who have been under a lot of stress. So yeah, that's your thyroid. The signs or symptoms that you need to look out for, or that might sort of ring a bell that you need to get your thyroid checked, is if you're tired all the time, but with that tiredness, you have problems with your weight. So you are just gaining weight for no reason. You haven't changed your diet. You are still exercising, but you're just gaining weight and you can't lose it. If you struggle with constipation as well, depression, if you feel cold all the time, if your hair's dry, if your skin's dry, those are all symptoms related to an underactive thyroid. And an underactive thyroid is commonly associated with fatigue. Fatigue is one of the big symptoms of an underactive thyroid. occasionally people can get an overactive thyroid or hyperactive thyroid, especially if they have had a lot of stress or trauma, a bad fright, a bad shock, or if they have just given birth as well after pregnancy and childbirth. And the symptoms of a hyperactive thyroid are quite different to an underactive thyroid, but again, it's the same blood test, and you do need to get this checked by your GP. So if you might have an overactive thyroid if you're tired all the time, but you don't have constipation, you have more diarrhea or the runs, your whole body speeds up. So instead of depression, you're actually anxious, you have a lot of anxiety, you might have heart palpitations, a lot of muscle weakness and weight loss. So that's your thyroid. Go to your doctor, get your bloods done, and rule out thyroid problems. If you struggle with fatigue, you really need to look at your thyroid. It's something that can be so easily fixed or helped with medication or with complementary health, with herbs, with homeopathic remedies, even with diet. I will talk a lot more about thyroid in other videos, so please make sure you subscribe to my newsletter, and I'll teach you a lot more about the thyroid, because it plays such a big role in chronic fatigue, in burnout, and in exhaustion. The next thing you need to check for is an infection. A lot of people come to me because they are utterly exhausted, and they haven't actually just done some blood tests or sometimes some stool tests to check if they have an underlying ongoing chronic infection. The most common infections associated with fatigue are glandular fever, so that's Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, Lyme disease, as well as lung problems or gut problems, gut infections. So you might need to do a stool test. Again, these are things you need to get checked with your GP. Next, we have low vitamin B levels. This is something, again, your GP can do a blood test for, or your functional medicine doctor, or your homeopathic doctor, or your naturopath. So go to whoever's your primary carer, primary health carer, and ask them to check your vitamin B levels. If you are struggling with stress, if you are under a lot of stress, so if you feel you're on the verge of burnout, you work a very stressful job, you have stress at home, vitamin B is the vitamin that feeds and nourishes your nervous system. And people with fatigue tend to almost chew up their vitamin B. So we need a lot more vitamin B than most people. Again, I'll chat about this more on other days, but do get your vitamin B levels tested. If you have very low vitamin B levels, a supplement or a change in your diet will help. And I will chat about different things you can eat at a later stage. And last but not least is your vitamin D levels. So the first one, vitamin B for beautiful, vitamin D for feeling down and dreary. And vitamin D is a vital nutrient to help you absorb a lot of your minerals. So if you have low vitamin D levels, you will probably have quite a lot of muscular weakness and aches and pains and joint pain. So again, it's a simple blood test. All these 5 things can be done in one blood test. So go to your GP once, go to your naturopath, come to your homeopathic doctor, get all these tests done in one go. And once you've ruled them out, then you can start looking at other causes of fatigue. But yeah, low vitamin D levels are surprisingly common in places like Australia, places where it's really hot and we tend to keep out of the sun because we know we're just going to end up fried. If you wear sunblock every day, if you work in an office every day, so office workers, it's very low. Of course, it's low. Sorry, I should have said vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin. And if you aren't getting enough sunshine on your skin, then you can have low vitamin D levels. I'll do a little chat about vitamin D at some stage, a video about that. But it is, low vitamin D levels are common in very hot countries where we tend not to go in the sun. It's common in wintry cold countries where there is no sun. It's common in office workers, people who just work 9 to 5, 8 to 6, whatever your hours are indoors. I remember when I lived in London, I used to, it was so depressing. I used to get, in winter, I would get the tube to work in the mornings and it would be dark. I would come out of my office in the evenings and it would be dark. You just don't see the sun. And it's also common in polluted countries. So if you live in a country with a lot of pollution, a lot of air pollution, then you are at risk of low vitamin D levels. Again, if your blood test shows that your vitamin D levels are low, it's something you can change so easily with a supplement, with a change in your diet. So those are my top 5 most common causes of fatigue. See if I can remember them now. The first one is anemia. The second is a thyroid disorder. The third is an infection. The fourth is low vitamin B levels. And the fifth is low vitamin D levels. If you download the PDF below, then you can go to your doctor. You can ask them to run blood tests to check for all of those. Get those checked, cancel those out. If they're not the cause of your fatigue, then stay tuned and we're going to explore a lot of other causes. If they are the cause of your fatigue, they're so easy to rectify. I am going to put up lots of videos, and in my weekly newsletter, I'm always chatting about these topics. In my monthly live webinars, these are the kind of things I go through a lot. There's lots of small changes you can make to your lifestyle. You don't just have to take supplements. Supplements can help, but you can make really small, really easy changes to your diet so that for the rest of your life, you don't have to worry about these things. So that's all for me for today. Please don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter below. Don't forget to download the checklist and go to your GP or go to your naturopath or go to your homeopath, whoever can do blood tests for you, and rule these out. And I will chat to you again next week. Bye.